Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations. So we are going to quickly go over the next 4 or 5 sections as they are fairly straightforward here. You have the transform info. I don't have offset in here, and that's for a reason. It's not needed with how everything is set up. But if enough people do request it, I will put it there just to appease people. But you do need to understand that this will offset things into places that you may not want them, specifically with landscape layers. So you may wind up having a tree that you don't want on sand on the sand. And in future iterations, I can show you how to remove that. Um, but for now, it's just not there. Then you have your rotation min, your rotation max. Use the absolute rotation, which I'm using for everything trees. Scale min, scale max, in the uniform. If everything is set to uniform, then you just need to change the leftmost variable of the scale min and scale max. Super easy to remember. Height info. Now, we have min height from waterline, and that's very important to understand. And the reason that this is important to understand and remember is because we have a global setting here. If I go back into the biome core data asset, water level is at negative 41,000. Close that back up. And here I have it set to 2 is the minimum. I'm going to go to this one because that one's already in the sand, and that is what everything else that you see on this biome is stuck in biome 1. This one I intentionally made to where it's in biome 1 and biome 3. So let's go here to height. If I make this negative 50, everything's going to generate, and we should start seeing trees further down. There we go. That's literally all it is. I'm going to put this back to 2 for my sanity. And then you have the max height from waterline. So how far up does it go? It gives you a height control that you wouldn't otherwise have. And then additional height for lower density. I created an effect that once you get past a certain height, you can have the density reduce. So it gives the effect of being higher in the mountains where there's fewer trees because there's fewer water and there's a lot more rocks. Whether you can see those rocks or not is irrelevant. There's just a lot of rocks, so there's fewer trees. So I wanted to give that, so that's why there's an additional height. You can always have it at 0 if you don't need it. Slope info. This gives you a great deal of control over your slopes. And it's important to note how this stuff works here. So as you can see, we've got stuff growing here. The secondaries, that's just something that I have not adjusted and fixed yet. So that is actually something that we won't be touching in this video. But essentially, let's see, we need this so that we can see it happen to more. No, we'll do it here. If I change this to 0.99 and hit enter, it's going to adjust the angle, and we're going to see a lot fewer trees on the cliffs. Or close to the cliffs anyways. As you can see, it removed a bunch. Now, you may not want to have to be all the way up at 0.99. If I come here to this one, this generator, which is shared trees, we're right now in 2 and 3, or 1 and 2. If I come here to the slope, I have the strength at 0.5 and the adjust angle at 0.8. So if I come back here to this one that I'm messing with, and I change the strength to 0.5, we're going to see an even bigger removal of trees. Okay, I thought we were, but we didn't. And that's fine. But this allows me to go to 0.8, and it was at 8.5. And we'll put that back. And you'll see we got some trees back, but not a massive amount. And it's really up to you how you choose to do this. So in this one, I still have it at 1 for the strength and 0.85. So I'll change this back 1.85. And that's essentially how it is. You have the strength and an offset to offset it, the normal direction to change that if you so choose. That way, if you want stuff only growing on the north side, the northern side of something, you can set it up here. And that's just what I chose to have available for you guys. Then you have the adjust angle, which is what we've been messing with. And then the flatness, if you reduce this, then the flatter areas will start to purge. And then angle offset for the fade. And what that is the shrink start and shrink multiplier. It goes into effect here. Essentially, once you get closer to the cliffs, which I'm not taking advantage of here, things get smaller. So if I go into this one, so I can see what they have, the shrink multiplier is at 0.5. So if I come back to this one, and I change the shrink multiplier to 0.5, we're going to see a few trees have their sizes change. That way, if you want smaller trees at steeper angles, you can have it. That is its purpose. Obviously, this one didn't change because its angle is not steep enough, but that's okay. That's just simply where it's at. And I think everything else is the angle offset for fade is 0.25. So if I change this from 0.05 to, let's go with 0.1, we may even see this tree change at this point. No, and that's okay. I'm going to be adding in the next iteration a bunch of debug options for each of these. That way you can click it on, see which boxes are being messed with so that you can see where things would go if there wasn't so much noise. Because there is change happening, there's just too much going on to notice it easily. But it does indeed work. You know what? Where I do know that it's working is right here. Where are you? As you can see, I got a lot going on in this one too. All right. As you can see, I went a little bit crazy here. I wanted to make sure you guys saw it working. As you can see, now I've got all these massive trees. And that's because I made the shrink multiplier 5 instead of 0.5 so that you can see which trees are being changed. And these ones are being changed at the most extreme angles. So the shrink start. If I were to lower it, then even more of them would change. So if I put you at 0.8, we should see several more of them get big. Let's give it a moment. So I saw a little bit of movement. There wasn't much movement, and that's okay because this one I had to do a bunch of math because you were having to go like 0.0001 type of thing to make adjustments, and that was just absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to put this back at 0.9, and I'm going to put this back at 0.5, and let it do its thing, and we're going to continue on with the density info. Now, the density info has two parts. You have the general and the slope. And the reason why I have these separated is because the slope density I have lower than the normal, than the general density, which is 1. However, the height density, so once you get past that certain height point and you get that additional height, the density is even lower. So that's essentially just a bunch of additional control for everyone's edge cases. And then you can randomize the seed, choose the seed that you want to utilize. That way you can see how things are working if you choose that you want to do that. Last thing we will go over in this episode is the spatial noise settings. Exposed is the threshold and the seed, along with the graph if you want to open it up. It works very similarly to the generator spatial noise setting that's right here. It's just an additional noise setting.